Susan Monica was actually born Stephen Buchanan in California in February of 1948. At the time, Susan apparently was still under the name of Stephen and was serving in what eventually served Vietnam. And it's believed that after Vietnam, Stephen would start to identify himself as Susan. And so Susan eventually would get access to a 20-acre farm and would start raising pigs on said farm. I feel like at some point she had imagined that this would be hard to do by herself, so apparently she puts an ad in Craigslist, basically looking for a handyman. And so apparently a man by the name of Robert Haney would apparently answer that call. And so he was born sometime in June of 1957. He apparently dropped out of high school, would run away with a friend. He gets married to a woman by the name of Thalia Larson, and they apparently have 5 kids together. They eventually wind up divorcing. Once all 5 kids apparently move out, he apparently gets out of his home and basically starts living in a mobile home, which his mobile home was basically parked onto Susan's property. So that's where he was living while he was helping her be a handyman. And apparently he had started drinking heavily because, unfortunately, one of his daughters, who was not named or what her age was at the time, she apparently had gotten raped, and him drinking heavily was how he was dealing with his daughter getting assaulted. As you can imagine, Robert would actually not be heard from his family for like a while. So out of concern, they proceeded to go to Susan's farm because that's the last place they heard that he was at. And she claims he actually left in September, but somehow, for whatever reason, left most of his stuff here on the farm. And then his kids eventually thought him missing at that point. So then Robert apparently had an EBT card, which is basically like a food stamps card. And police are apparently able to see that it was last used at a Walmart. They then apparently go to the Walmart. And as you know, most Walmarts, of course, they had cameras. So they check the cameras, and Susan is actually the one who's using the EBT card on the last confirmed transaction. And then they also find out that apparently the day after this transaction, she apparently palms off 2 rifles. So then on January 10th, apparently police arrive on the property. And then apparently while there, they apparently find a human leg and bring Susan to the property. She basically claims, basically tries to blame her pigs that she has, basically saying that they had eaten Robert alive and basically had left his leg behind. And then while still first searching for Robert, because they also believe that Robert is now deceased at this point, they then find a body of another man by the name of Stephen. And then Stephen would have been born in 1957. She tries to claim that she saw Stephen shoot himself in the head multiple times. So once obviously police realize that that's, logically that doesn't make any sense, she then tries to claim he tried to steal the 2 guns that she had. She shot him self-defense and let the pigs dispose of his remains. So Susan, I don't know whether it was her birthday or this inmate's birthday, but apparently she was sending a birthday card to an inmate that basically she had written the sweetest murderer in Jackson County. She, of course, later said it was a joke. She was sentenced to 50 years. The pigs, as you can imagine, wound up getting put down. And then Susan would try to suggest that, why can't you just give it to the people instead of just disposing of them, wasting of them. And then, of course, police would try to say that we don't know exactly what your pigs ate and we don't want the public getting contaminated with anything they may have eaten.